Alright homeboys, today's video is going to be the corruption and irrationality of higher education. I do a lot of videos on public education, so I like to cover a bit of higher education, which kind of is public education to an extent. About half of the funding for universities comes from the government. Now before I start this video, I'd like to point out, probably a lot of people, maybe the majority of my subs or whatever, they're university students. A lot of them are like in university right now, or they're graduates, right? And I don't want to discourage you, okay? If you were to ask me, have an honest conversation, I'll probably tell you you should complete your university, right? Now, if you've ever been on the internet, you're probably gonna hear the same criticisms of education or higher education over and over again, which is look at Bill Gates, look at Warren Buffett, look at all these people who dropped out of college and started a business and they're billionaires, right? And it's really, really misleading and bad to kind of think like that, because these people are the anomalies, right? These are the outs. Anomaly is a fancy word. You don't need words like that. I should eliminate words like that from my vocabulary. These guys are the exceptions. They're not the norm, right? So in the norm, you probably will end up making more money going to college than not going to college, depending what you're taking, right? But I'm going to give you some interesting economic arguments against college, all right? And this is the argument of economic security. Now, in our society, people buy insurance for everything. You buy insurance for your house, for your car, for your dog, for your life, for virtually everything. People buy into this insurance idea, right? And it's very interesting because if you buy insurance, you should be opposed to the concept of education. And if you buy education, you should be opposed to the concept of insurance. There are contradictions in logic. And what do I mean by that, all right? Well, let's look at insurance as an investment. Insurance is a horrible investment. You're almost always going to lose money. With insurance, all the odds are strongly against you. You're going to most likely lose money. And it's all in order to provide economic security, right? Now, with college, it's the exact opposite thing. With college, you're willing to give up economic security to a massive extent in order to optimize profit. So insurance, you're trading profit for security. With college, you're trading security for profit. That is irrational. Now, let's look at just how big of a risk college is, all right? So it's not actually a small risk, it's a cataclysmal risk, all right? We're investing a substantial sum of money. We're talking $30,000 plus. And let's look at how many people actually pass college, right? Because a lot of people fail college. And if you fail it in the first year, you're not going to lose all the $30,000, but you probably lose $5,000, $10,000 or whatever, right? Smaller losses, but still massive risk. What percent of people actually pass college? We're going to look at Canadian universities here. So here is a list of all the universities in order from highest graduation rates to lowest. These statistics come straight from the education department. And you can see in some universities, we're talking under 50% of people are graduating. You have a failure rate of over 50%. Now, one of these statistics I think they use a lot to kind of mislead people is the unemployment rates of college graduates. So let's say, you're the upper 70% who pass college. Well, only 6.5% of college graduates are unemployed. So that sounds pretty good, right? Well, most likely you're in the 94%. However, what they often don't tell you is how many of these people are employed in things related to their major. So you could, get a college degree and then you could end up working in McDonald's and you'd still be employed under those statistics, but obviously, the college degree would have been completely useless in that sense. All right, so let's get these numbers correct here. In 2010, only 62% of US college graduates had a job that required a college degree. And secondly, only 27% of college grads had a job that was closely related to their major. So that one's probably the more important statistic there. So we're talking about 30% of people who get a college degree end up working a job that has nothing to do with their college degree. And then, of course, there's the 6.5% of people who are just unemployed entirely. So you add that to the 27%, you're up to 33% of people don't use their college degree for anything. So 1 in 3 fail college, and then 1 in 3 end up not using their college degree. That's a cataclysmal risk, right? It's a really, really huge risk. But the odds are in your favor of making more money overall, right? Education is most likely going to be an investment, but at the same time, you're definitely sacrificing a huge amount of economic security. Now, the next thing I'd be skeptical of is you're always told the same statistic over and over, which is, on average, college graduates make more. I might do some investigation into that because I'm a little bit skeptical of that statistic too. All right. I think it's probably true as like an average thing, and I think the average is probably lower than people are making it out to be, right? They say college graduates earn something like 30% more. In reality, it's probably closer to like 16% more, and here's the reason why I think that is, okay? Who goes to college, all right? Well, you can be damn sure every, businessman, lawyer, or every son or daughter of a businessman, lawyer, accountant, all these white-collar guys. If your parents can afford to put you into college, they can also probably afford to connect you with some kind of higher paying job, right? Give you the network connections you need to actually get a job involved in these things, right? So considering that's another huge factor, right? We have to kind of control for economic privilege, and these statistics, they don't control for economic privilege, and when you do control for that, I can almost guarantee you the number is going to drop. Now let's look at this criticism. I've been giving this criticism for a very long time, and this is the entrance requirements to college and how irrational they are, okay? So I see there's more people on the internet saying this argument now, and that's kind of motivational to me, I guess, and good. But basically the core idea is you take something you're interested in, say mathematics, and you have to study a whole bunch of things you're not interested in, and you have to pay for them too, right? And let's look at get a sense of just how much random stuff they make you take, right? So I'm going to look at the University of Calgary's physics curriculum, right? And in the 4th year, 7 out of 10 of the courses you're taking are options. Now, 3 of them are science-related options, so you could at least say, well, if you're taking biology, it kind of sort of helps with your understanding of physics because you're doing something sciencey, but the other 4 are just random things. And it varies per course, right? But on average, about somewhere around 30% of the courses you're going to take have nothing to do with what you're interested in. And that's really scammy and stupid, I think, because if you didn't force people to take courses they weren't interested in, then you would free up all these professors' time to teach students who are actually interested in the subjects that they're teaching, right? So get rid of all the liberal arts thing, right? And you're gonna be able to accept 30% more students into university. University is gonna cost 30% less, and university is going to take 30% less time to complete, and you're going to have a higher graduation rate, right? Because you can actually fail university because you do bad in all your options. Now, I'm not against liberal arts at all, right? If someone wants a well-rounded, diverse education, by all means, go ahead, right? I'm for that. Sure, you want to study all these things and, understand the world better, right? Go for it, right? That's absolutely fine. I'm just saying options should be optional, right? So it should be a choice rather than something you're kind of forced into. All right, so now what grinds my gears a lot is let's take a look at education specifically. So the way an education degree works is you have something called a concentration. And this is the subject that you want to teach, right? So you study your concentration more. So for example, you want to be a biology teacher, your concentration would be biology, and you'd study more biology than you would something like mathematics, right? So let's say you get a degree in education and your concentration is in biology and your goal is to become a high school biology teacher. There is a huge chance that the principal is just going to make you teach mathematics or something else anyways in high school, right? So you would think that you need to have some kind of like qualification to teach high school math, right? Like if you just studied biology in university, you're obviously not qualified to teach high school mathematics, right? Wrong. Because the way the government does things, anyone can teach anything, right? And if you think I'm exaggerating, it gets a lot more absurd than that. That's not an overstatement, that's an understatement, all right? So Trina Herdman, she is vice chair of the school board. There will be kindergarten teachers who are failing at teaching kindergarten, and they can't fire these guys as the teachers union, so what do? They move them to teach high school. This actually happens, right? So someone has no qualifications whatsoever to be teaching high school math, and they get moved from kindergarten to teach high school math or high school chemistry or something. So all this crap about you needing to go to school 4 years to become a teacher is just total nonsense, because a huge percentage of teachers have about as much qualification as the average person, right? They'll know a little bit more about the curriculum, they'll know more about teacher resources, they'll know a bit more about the law, and maybe a bit of child psychology or whatever. And that's another thing, that's totally irrational, okay? Because you can study child psychology in university and then end up teaching adolescents, and you could study adolescent psychology and end up teaching children. So if you go to school in Canada and you've noticed that some of your teachers are grossly unqualified, there's a good chance it's because they are grossly unqualified, right? There's a good chance they don't have any idea what they're doing, right? So I mean, I have a friend, he went to school, he studied physics in university, physics and math. He has no biology background whatsoever. The average Joe knows probably more about biology than him. And he goes up to the principal and says, look, I don't like biology. I hate biology. I passionately hate biology. I want to teach physics or math. What does the principal do? They say, well, we need a biology teacher. They're going to teach biology. Too bad. And, you know, what is that going to do to the quality of the teacher? Okay, not just in terms of qualification, but when a teacher's teaching a subject they're not passionate about and they're not interested in, well, you know, they're going to become angry and they're going to do a really bad job of it. They're not going to care about the kids. They're just, you know, they're going to be pissed off all the time. Now imagine if we took this type of logic. You would think that, you know, in the intellectual world, everything is much more rational, right? Imagine just applying this type of logic to the trades, all right? So imagine you need an electrician because your power in your house is out, and the guy says, we're going to send a plumber. Would you pay for that? And he said, well, does the plumber have some kind of qualification? No. He's just a plumber. He's never done anything about plumbing. He has no idea about anything in electricity. Would you hire someone like that? Would you be willing to pay for something like that? Well, in reality, you are paying for that, right? This is again, goes back to community tyranny, right? Whether you think the education system is good or rational and makes any sense, you have to pay for it regardless because the majority is in favor of it. Now, next thing I'd like to talk about is about the corruption, right? So one thing a lot of people complain about is textbook prices. There's like a revolution about to happen because of textbook prices. I never got that because, you know, the liberal arts, the amount you spend on options is a lot more than you'd have to spend, you know, buying textbooks, right? Textbooks are maybe $200 a piece or something, right? They're definitely overpriced, right? But that's one thing that's, you know, so people are mad when they feel they're being scammed, but I think they don't really realize to what extent they're being scammed, right? So you think about your tuitions, right? And well, you're paying, you know, if all your tuition was doing was like paying the university to, you know, maintain good quality education, I wouldn't object to paying a tuition. I'd say if that's going directly to funding the university and it's doing good work, well, that's fine, right? But when you look at what's being done with that money, it's pretty outrageous, right? So, for example, Elizabeth Cannon, the current president of the USC, she spent $6 million on office renovations, right? She has a marble staircase and all this stuff. I could take a photo of it if you want to see it. Go down and take a photo, right? So if you just walk through the university, you can see the ways they outrageously waste money. You know, left, right, and center is very obvious. So, okay, let me give you an example. This is the ICT building at the U of C. If you go through the building, the entire center of the building is hollowed out, right? So you're basically wasting, you know, 20 to 30% of the space in the building. Why don't you just put something there, right? It's because they like this elaborate architecture, right? And you see the same thing in Calgary City Hall. They did the same thing. They did the same thing in the courthouse. It's a new kind of style of wasting space in buildings. It's what they like to do. And maybe there's some really good reason for it, but I doubt it. Now I'm going to show you some more of the total irrationality of university policy, all right? So let's say you want to go to university and study mathematics, pure mathematics. That's your subject interest, right? So you want to study that. What are the admission requirements, right? So you would think that the requirements would be something like, well, you have to have some basic English competencies and you have to be really good at math. That would seem like rational requirements, right? Well, no, of course not. You have to have proficient English and you have to have a science as well. You have to have taken, you know, passed a science, and there's a few other requirements. You need to have like a 70% average, which again makes no sense, right? Because let's say you're only good at math and you suck at you suck social studies or history or whatever it's called in your country. You know, you suck at all these other subjects that are non-math related. Well, you could get rejected even if you're a math prodigy from university because you're not good in these other subjects, right? And it gets way more absurd than that, okay? So let's actually look at the science requirements, specific science requirements. So in Alberta, there's 4 types of sciences you can take in high school, all right? You can take biology, chemistry, physics, or science general. And science general is biology, chemistry, and physics. It's a combination of all the sciences, requirements, right? Now let's say you're the university administrator and they're saying we want to take in less students to university, we want to make university more competitive, and we have to eliminate some of these high school students, right? So you have the high school students who took science general, you have the ones who took biology, the ones who took chemistry, and the ones who took physics. And we're talking about admission requirements for pure mathematics, right? So which is obviously the logical choice to eliminate? Well, let's see. University philosophy is based on diverse education, so diverse education should be preferable to something that's less diverse. So we should choose someone like science general over, just biology, just chemistry, or just physics, right? And the other thing we'd want to look at is how relevant is the science major to mathematics? Well, in science general, you study a lot of mathematics. In chemistry, you study a bit of mathematics. And in physics, you study a lot of mathematics. So, the clear choices. The best choices for sure is going to be science general and physics. That's going to be choice number one to keep, right? And choice number two is going to be chemistry, and choice number three is biology. Obviously, biology is not related to mathematics in any real way. You can apply a bit of mathematics to biology. You can use some calculus to calculate, owl breeding patterns and things like that. There's in cable theory. Cable theory is advanced neurology. You use a bit of calculus in cable theory. Okay, but obviously chemistry, physics, and science general uses way more mathematics, right? And science general is a lot more diverse. So that's also another preference, right? But in reality, the one that's eliminated is science general. So you could get into university pure mathematics if you took biology, but if you took science general, you'd be rejected. And that was one of the reasons I was rejected from pure mathematics. How absurd is that, right? So if you're going to start off with this irrational premise of let's make universities all competitive and eliminate everybody from being able to go there because we all want to be super elite, well then wouldn't you at least want some kind of test that gets you the most elite candidates? Because this system obviously will not get you the most elite candidates. Someone who has a high score in mathematics and science general is obviously more qualified to be in university than someone who has a high score in mathematics and biology. I talk about these specific irrational requirements in mathematics in my book on Alberta corruption, right? And I've been handing that book out by the zillions at the universities, right? And the university took down the admission requirements from their website. So they're still the same requirements, right? But they're no longer publicly available, and that's only true in pure mathematics. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. But it did happen, pretty closely after I started raiding universities. And the University of Calgary also did censor Alberta corruption, right? So if they're going to take the time to block access, and not only that, but they censored it in a way that's very sneaky and dishonest, right? Because normally when you block a website, it says, this website is restricted, forbidden by, the university or whatever, right? They blocked it in a way so that you get an error 404 when you go onto the website, right? And it's definitely confirmed. I'm 100% confident of that. I got like 6 professors to all independently try to log on to the website. I tried logging on 4 times independently, and I have my cell phone right next to me, and I punch in the website and it works fine because it's on a different connection, right? So definitely that did happen, right? And that's pretty interesting. Now the last thing I like to look at is the indoctrination in high school about post-secondary. Were you educated about post-secondary or were you indoctrinated? So in Alberta, you have a mandatory course called Career and Life Management. Every student has to take it. And this is what you're learning, right? So in grade 12, Comm Module 3, page 48, it says, who needs post-secondary education? Simple answer, everybody. And to clarify, they mean it's as simple as in, wow, that's a really straightforward question. Not simple as in, I'm going to give a simplified version of a complex answer. It then goes on to explain it's hard to imagine a better investment you could make than post-secondary education. Now in Comm Module 1, that would be grade 10, it states literacy is a key determinant of health. And then it says, if education and literacy are determinants of health, how does dropping out of school impact the well-being of communities and societies? And there's an answer just in case you couldn't guess it, and the answer is not well. In COM Module 3, page 26, this is grade 12, it states students need to know how to create within themselves as positive an attitude as possible towards learning. So I think it's pretty safe to say students are being indoctrinated into going to college. Now, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it, subscribe, or whatever, right? And I have a few more videos I want to do before I start taking some video requests, so don't bomb me with any video requests yet. And let me know your thoughts below. I actually read comments and I actually reply to them. I think I reply to every single comment ever. So if you've left a comment that I haven't replied to or given a thumbs up to or something, comment and say that I've not replied to comments. I really do believe in talking. One of my core philosophies is